Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us here today. You're in for a great discussion over the next 15 minutes. It's going to go too fast. I wish we had longer because we have an amazing person here with us, Allie, and I can't wait for you to hear her story. So every now and then, I get a chance to meet, and it's not very often, someone who we probably all recognize. They just bring this special level of energy when you first meet them. And I remember we met a couple weeks ago via video, and Allie just was exuding this sense of energy, this passion, this intelligence. And I just remember thinking, I think I just met one of those special people that inspires you in a way that you rarely get inspired. And then I had the opportunity to meet Allie last night in person, and I said, I don't think I met this person. I did meet this person, and that is Allie. And so if you think about, just to share a little bit about Allie's background. So Allie she's a quantitative stock trader during the day. She is much smarter than me because she graduated high school at 16 years old, I believe. She's a writer. As I said, she's wickedly smart. What we're here to talk about today is she's a fierce patient advocate. She's a DEI consultant and a keynote speaker, and she is also Miss Wheelchair America. So, big applause for that. And so, Allie, I can't thank you enough for joining us here today. You're a woman of many titles, and so can you just tell us a little bit about the journey you have in becoming a patient advocate and the issues that you fight for?
Thank you so much for having me, Tom. Yes, I have a little bit of a wacky background. I grew up all over the world internationally. As Tom mentioned, I went to China when I was 16 years old after high school for no good reason other than to have fun. I landed in jail, actually, which is a story for another time. Worked in politics in my 20s with the Rockefeller family, and then started to learn to become a technical analysis day trader in my mid-20s. When I was 27, living on my out island in the Bahamas, I took a shallow water dive. It was all caught on camera. I just hit sand, leaving me a C6 quadriplegic, paralyzed from the chest down with paralyzed hands. I call them my paws. And in the hospital, my dad said to me, "Kid, you broke your body, not your brain. Get to work. No sympathy. You have to appreciate an English father." So I basically spent the next 7 years of my life in and out of hospitals, 2.5 years in bed, a year in bed with multiple complications and surgeries from pulmonary embolism, cervical cancer, life-threatening spinal cysts, hyperthyroidism, osteoporosis, you name it. Murphy was just kicking my butt 18 ways to Sunday. And I actually moved to China again in 2013 for life-saving spinal surgery because the US healthcare system actually failed me. So that's a story for a couple beers and a campfire, which we don't have time for today. Moved to Raleigh in 2015, and I thought life had to get back to normal, but it didn't. So I spent another year in bed with a stage 4 pressure sore and other secondary complications down to my bone on my backside. And during this year in bed, while day trading, I had a lot of extra time on my hands. And so I was denied medically necessary equipment I needed to not only survive in my life, but to thrive. So I started to write letters of medical necessity, backed up by peer-reviewed journal articles, took the emotion out of the argument and made it purely medical, started winning so many, all the medical equipment and services I need, taught myself how to navigate the health insurance appeals process, which was not an easy thing to do. And then this work went national, humbly winning Miss Wheelchair America 2023. Not a beauty pageant, advocacy. I just want to make that utterly clear to everyone. And partnering with beautiful organizations and companies. And so in the day, I work in diversity, equity, inclusion in the corporate world, and then my passion is healthcare advocacy and equity, which is how it all got started from a year in bed.
I remember you shared, if you don't mind me sharing this story, that advocacy and some of the first products that you got finally payers to pay for. I think you shared, you tried to meet with the CEO, because I thought of this as a CEO. You said, I tried to meet with the CEO a bunch of times. Then when I got on the news 57 times, he suddenly decided to meet with me. So.
Yes, that is true. When I learned, when you were denied anything for health insurance and you're denied under medically necessary, it's not medically necessary, you can fight it. If it is a luxury or convenience item, which is my power seat elevator, I went to the CEO of Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I went to his office every day for a month. he would not see me, so I reached out to 57 news reporters. 3 of them came back. I won a seat elevator, and then that is when I joined the ITEM Coalition, which is independence through enhancement of Medicare and Medicaid, which is probably the next question, diving into. I'm taking Tom's questions away from him. Well, this coalition is made up of 90 patient advocacy organizations, doctors, lawyers, PTs, OTs, medical device companies, and we've been fighting for the last several years for equity in medical device and complex rehab technology. And in May of 2023, CMS came out with a landmark decision to reclassify power seat elevators for power chairs as durable medical equipment and medically necessary. Very huge. We're on to many other things. Oh, but this is not my own. But this just speaks to, in the med tech, that when you want change, while you're fighting for systemic change, you have to navigate within a broken system at the same time. So that is where the collaboration comes in.
Thank you. That's an amazing story. So at BD, one of the things that we embrace is a growth mindset. And that's the firm belief that there's nothing that we can't do. There's just things that we haven't done yet. And so, as you think about yourself, your mantra, your mindset, it is an amazing example of growth mindset and how you've overcome challenges with positivity and use your voice to just help a tremendous number of other people. Can you just talk about your motivation and how you continue that drive towards growth?
I've been thinking a lot about growth mindset and what makes up a growth mindset. It's those that are willing to learn and take your ego out of it. And for me, I realize it's not about what you do, but it's about why you do it. So I spent so many years advocating for myself, which was an individualistic passion for purely survival. And I turned this individual passion into a shared collective purpose with a group of great human beings with an actionable plan. And I realized that it's about, when I get up on stage or I'm working, helping anyone, whether it's personally or professionally, it's not about me. It's about helping that one person. My dad said to me, he said, it's about constancy to purpose. And I live by a Winston Churchill quote every morning, which helps me with my growth mindset. Success consists of moving from failure to failure without lack of enthusiasm. I fail 80% of the time. I write about it. People choose to only pay attention to the 20% of my successes, but it's waking up each day and consistently redirecting, reimagining, and making a new plan of action. Because living this life is not easy, but it's consistently adapting to the unknown and figuring out that no is a starting negotiation point, always in my life in any event.
I think that sense of purpose, that's a key thing of what triggered the growth mindset to a next level. And it's something we have, of course, that's very special in this industry that drives, I think, all of us. It's why we're all here today and why we're in the industry to start. I'm going to jump down in the questions, and we've got a lot of folks here from different medical device companies. How do you see that, and what advice would you give for folks here? How can medical device companies be more effective in how we partner with patient advocates and patient organizations to further health equity and address gaps in providing technologies?
Great question. I think it's a two-part question. So if you're a very large medical device company like yourself at BD, you do a fantastic job of partnering with patient advocacy organizations. I will just give one example. So I'm a board member of United Spinal Association, the largest spinal cord injury association in the country. And BD partners very well, and this is not, I'm not trying to ego, but you guys do an incredible job. But you really get in there and you work and you go to the events and you sponsor them and you put not only the funds and the sponsorships behind that, but you have people on the ground and understanding what are the needs of the patients and the consumers that you're serving. When it comes to smaller medical device companies, when I was fighting health insurance companies, I realized a lot of these smaller device companies, they didn't understand health insurance, they didn't understand reimbursement, they didn't understand how to help the patient. So I'll give you one very specific example because I'm looking at the clock. I was fighting for a highly specialized mattress for pressure sores that I needed. And it was out of network, and I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield said this was out of network and we're not going to give you the mattress. I found an incredible company, and they said, well, we're out of network. you can pay $5,000. And I said, no, that's not going to work for me. So I started pouring through corporate medical policy, which is very fun in my late night hours, for Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and I found a technicality loophole. And in this loophole, I found that you could get a piece of out-of-network equipment put in network. There's something called a network gap exception if it was 50 miles outside the radius of your plan. Anyway, I told a small medical device company this. I then educated their staff. I did webinars. I wrote articles. They took the work that I did, and they actually now work with other patients. I have proof that 15 patients now have this exact mattress that I have, but that was from me being a patient, working with these companies, even the smaller companies. They didn't have the funds, and this was just my pro bono. I work professionally, corporately, so I can dedicate 20% of my week to helping human beings. Just human kindness, paying it forward, because there's just not enough of that in this world.
I think you can see the force that Allie is here. So.
Or just being very stubborn. It's sheer grit with a little bit of stubbornness, honestly.
I think, though, when did you first start reading scientific journals? Because you do a lot of evidence. It makes it very difficult.
It is. So part of my argument was taking the emotion out. I wanted Blue Cross to care. I'm so sorry, but they don't, right? And so you have to make it medical. And so when I started this, I realized that my dad, who was in publishing for decades, he got into biotech and cancer research. And so he started to teach me when I was 13 over supply and demand was our first economics lesson. At 15, how to read peer-reviewed journal articles. So I had a leg up, and I realized a lot of my friends who were just trying to survive their day with caregivers and pressure sores in life and medical conditions, that they didn't know how to do this. So that I started very young.
I think I was working on kicking a soccer ball at 15. You're way more advanced than I was at 15. So I think we've got time for maybe one more question. So in addition to being a diversity and inclusion expert, you also advocate for better access, and we've talked about that. Mm-hmm. Could you just speak to you've shared a lot of great learnings here already in how you help make sure that the medical technologies are available to the people who need them most. Any other things, key learnings that you'd share with us here in the last moment?
For me, it's about being your own self-advocate. You have to. But if you can't, it's about working with those who cannot be their own advocates. So for medical device companies and patients that are coming to you, especially the smaller to mid-sized companies, it's about asking the right question. If you don't ask the right question, you're not going to get the right answer. And people will say, Allie, you know everything with health insurance. No, I don't. When I don't know the answer, I find someone smarter than I am. I ask the right question. It's about the power of the network. It's about building relationships. You never know who you're going to meet, how are you going to meet them, how they're going to affect your life. I always say my Rolodex is open to everyone to make a connection. What you do with that connection, that's up to you. But I think there's a lack of access to a lot of medical technology companies for patients, and there are these barriers to entry, which I think we need to reduce in order to have a more patient-centric approach to changing the system.
Thank you. So I hope here, over the last 15 minutes, everyone's taken away some advice that you can apply in terms of how patient advocates can help advance making medical technologies available to the patients who need them most. I think also, hopefully, you see the inspiration or leaving with some of the inspiration that I shared. And really a huge thank you, Allie.
I will leave with one parting word because I have to. So people say my middle name is pleasantly persistent, how I get everything done. It really just means I'm a stalker with a smile. I will keep following up with you 50 times until I hear back from you, even if I have to show up on your doorstep. So it's about being pleasantly persistent in your own advocate. Tom, thank you for having me today.
Thank you as well. Thank you.